step I take, I move my truth. Every time they tell me stop, I use every comment, hate that makes my feel. Gather up my energy and boom, I hear them talking, saying the way that I move is so reckless. That is a part of my mind I've been blessed with, giving my blood, so I am relentless.
All right, this is the Keep Hammering Collective with Ryan Callaghan. How you doing?
Oh, I'm good.
Yeah?
I am good, yeah. I'm trying to be better than good, but I'm good.
Well, on Instagram, you're Old Cal, right?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Just Old Cal?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
And that came because the guys I hung out with in college, when I had attempted college,
Yeah.
they were like, God, you're like an old man.
So just things you were concerned with, or how you carried yourself, or what?
I don't know.
Stories, good stories, maybe?
I think because I worked, I had jobs. And,
That's weird.
Right. And, you like freshman year of college and sophomore year of college is this big mixing pot of people. And a lot of those kids didn't. And, they were just coming from different walks of life. And this buddy of mine, Kyler Reardon, he's still one of my all-time best hunting partners. He's got he stayed in the construction vein. I took a different path.
Yeah.
But we'd peel out of the dorms and come back covered in, gypsum and, doing demo jobs and stuff like that on the side, and come back and people would be like, where were you guys playing?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, I just, had some bills to worry about and stuff like that. So it was like, oh, old Cal, old guy.
I like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where was it? Where would you go to school?
That was University of Montana.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So I grew up in Missoula. I have a giant Montana family.
Okay.
And now it's pretty funny because I live in Bozeman, and it used to be like Bozeman was really just the ag school. It was a rodeo school. A bunch of my Eastern Montana family would end up going to Montana State University, the Bobcats. And then my Uncle Mike played football for the Bobcats, unfortunately still for their only national championship team.
Oh.
So he still kind of gets wheeled out as royalty with the national champs.
That's a big accomplishment, though.
Oh, it is.
That's pretty sick.
But they almost got it again last year.
Oh, did they?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and they played a hell of a game. It's one of those things, like when you're playing at that level,
Yeah.
you just can't have a bad quarter.
Are they playing, is it like North Dakota State?
Yes.
Where Carson Wentz went?
Yes.
Isn't that the same size of school? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And isn't North Dakota State usually pretty good too?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. But, as you know, my falls are pretty booked, so you can't ask me too much about football.
I understand.
But the funny thing is now I'm 2.5 hours from all my Western Montana family and all my Eastern Montana family, and I'm dead smack in the middle.
Yeah.
And I got a lot of family coming through all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you went to Grizzlies.
Yep. University of
gotcha.
Montana, Missoula.
And your uncle won with the Bobcats.
Yep.
So that's okay. Yeah. That's a big rivalry.
And I didn't like to pay for anything. And so when I was going to University of Montana, I had all of his old Montana State University workout clothes and stuff.
Okay.
And they had this great shirt. So they won in 1984. And their 85 practice shirts and workout shirts was Keep It Alive in 85.
Nice.
And so that's what I was working out in.
That's
great.
when I graduated.
High school?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
That's how old I am.
I'm an 01er.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're young. See?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. 42 young.
What were you going to school for back then?
I loved, any of the ologies. And I bumped into a USGS employee who was out checking the stream flow monitors. I was fishing the Beaverhead River out of Dillon, Montana. And this guy rolls up who kind of looks like me, and he's, had some fly fishing stuff with him. And I was like, hey, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, don't worry, I'm not fishing here. I got to check this thing. And he's like, oh, I'm USGS. And I was like, oh, how'd you get into that? So I was like, oh, I'm going to be a geologist.
Okay.
And so I started doing that. Mm-hmm. And then I took this class called Volcanoes and Earthquakes. And I was like, oh,
Sounds like a good one.
this is going to be great.
Yeah.
And that professor made it like, how do you make volcanoes and earthquakes boring and terrible? I mean, it was so bad. And I was like, oh my gosh, I got to do something else. And so I kind of bounced around. And at one point I had like anthropology and geology and paleontology all at the same time. And then I always loved history. And I'm just not good with authority either. And my advisor didn't show up the first week. So I just picked all my own classes and I picked all the things that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And they were all like the hard classes because those sounded way better than intro to this or intro to that.
Yeah.
And then by the time I was supposed to be thinking about graduating, I had all the easy classes and I couldn't stand going to them because I was also working construction the whole time. And I was like, this is so stupid. This is so stupid. I could be setting trusses today and making money.
Yeah.
You know, like the crew needs me.
You
know, teamwork was always, my dad's family was big organized athletics family. So teamwork, coaching, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so like the construction crew, even though you can attract some knuckleheads,
Still a team. Yeah.
it's still a team. Yeah. So I'd be like, oh my gosh, we're putting up walls today.
Can't let the guys down.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So that was kind of the down. Plus a good bird dog. And she was just hitting her stride. And all of a sudden Dad found out that I was taking 2 classes instead of 8.
Yeah.
And
you're supposed to be a full-time student.
Student. And all of a sudden I start getting these phone calls from credit companies and they're like, hey, you're not paying your tuition to the University of Montana. And I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? and my dad was like, oh, did you finally notice?
So he quit paying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Found out you weren't going.
Found out I wasn't going. Found out I was making plenty of money to pay my bills and spending that on hunting. And then I learned real quick about responsibility, being an adult and all that stuff. And
So you quit
negotiating my time with creditors is super fun. Yep. And I have a very, that little stint, creditors following you around when you're trying to hustle and make some paychecks. Definitely like in modern times, they call it trauma. That'd be my childhood trauma that follows me around.
To deal with the bill collectors.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, you could probably get a lot of therapy out of that nowadays if you want to talk to somebody.
Yeah. And just give all that money I'm saving back.
Yeah. Well, and then, so when did you get hooked up with the MeatEater?
Oh, so, I just like a lot of the guys that I was around, we were all guiding, fly fishing, and my dad's secretary, when I was young, he was a lawyer in town, and he had a legal assistant whose husband was an outfitter. Larry Pendleton, Lone Tree Outfitting.
Oh, sounds good. That's a good name.
It is, yeah. And he had all these beat up old trucks, and each one had a custom license plate, and it'd be like Lone Tree 1, Lone Tree 2, Lone Tree 3. We'd ride around Lone Tree 3.
Okay.
And he was just like a saint. It was the weirdest thing. I know you've been around a lot of outfitters. I've worked for a bunch of them, and it's like, the more I think about it, it's like the first one was the most honest. And thank God for that. And he just had the patience of Job and would, love that man. And he would answer every single question. Cause my dad wasn't he was the team sports guy, the athletics guy. And football and all that stuff was taking me away from hunting and being outside. And my mom had got me like Outdoor Life and Field and Stream for my birthday my whole life. And so I'd read those things. My dad would get me books on outdoor stuff. And this guy was like the gateway to all the like he had all the knowledge firsthand, and that was the only person that had like that depth of knowledge. And oh yeah, I have been turkey hunting versus like reading turkey hunting stories, right?
So you just ask him a million questions about everything, or what?
Oh yeah, and I'm like still embarrassed about sitting like the idea, because I would just not shut up.
Yeah,
and I'd just be like, well, what about, and what about, and what about, and what about. Right?
Yeah.
And this guy just would just pay, and he'd roll his own cigarettes and he'd dig in the pocket of his shirt and dig his tobacco out and sit there and roll a cigarette and be like, oh, well, pard.
Did he have the tobacco loose in the pocket?
No, he had the Prince, is it Prince?
Prince Albert?
Prince Albert.
Is that what it is?
He had the tin.
Is that right? Yeah.
And then he'd have like the big can at home. And he'd repack the tin.
I can visualize exactly what you're saying.
And
that shirt kind of moving around a little bit.
Yeah. And it was, I mean, it's still just so iconic. But, you know, everything stunk like nicotine and cigarettes. And but it's like a nostalgia smell
and
today.
if he's doing that, he's not in a hurry to go anywhere because he's got a roll of cigarettes so he can tell you a story.
Oh, yeah, man.
Yeah.
And it was just everything to me. And then the other thing he'd do, right, is, you know, I'd follow him around, right?
And how old were you at this time?
This was probably starting about 13, I bet.
Okay.
And so all the way through high school. And, you know, the second, and this is, you know, Dad didn't know this, but like the second football ended, I'd cut class. I'd be sick at school. I'd never miss a day. And then the second football ended, I'd cut class and go down there and help him guide elk hunters and just, you know, be with them and learn as much as I could. And he had just had this trick that I didn't pick up on forever, but, you know, he's always smoking, and then he'd like stop me with his hand, and then he'd look down at his cigarette, and then just start marching on, you know.
Is that his wind?
Yeah, he's checking the wind with the smoke on his cigarette, you know.
Yeah, hey, it works for that, I'm sure.
Oh yeah,
it's like a little wind detector.
Yeah. But anyway, so I was guiding all over the place, and eventually, I was outdoor television was like Wild West outdoor television at that point, right? Like, anybody with a couple of bucks could be on Sportsman's Channel. If you had a couple more bucks, you could be on Outdoor Channel. And they were just trying to like feed the beast of content in those days. And so we were just constantly bumping into these TV shows. And, you know, 99.99% of those went away fast. They don't exist today.
But when you were out like hunting, you were seeing these guys? Okay.
Or, you know, they'd come into camp, you know,
I see. Yeah.
with different outfitters. And then the one thing that they all had in common is it was like nobody was doing that in Montana or Idaho then, which were my main kind of zone. And they were all like Midwest folks. Like they were turkey and whitetail folks, but then they wanted to get the elk.
Yeah.
And then they'd be like, nobody's in shape to do this.
Yeah.
So let's hire this kid to carry a camera. And so that's how I did. I would fill in, if I was filming TV and I had a break, I had all this list of outfitters I could talk to, call one up and be like, hey, I'm in New Mexico.
Got any work?
You got any work?
Yeah.
And they'd be like, yeah. And so I'd jump in for a week there, and then I'd go to Colorado and kind of vice versa. And then in the winters, I'd fill in going to trade shows for outfitters or for brands or whatever, and just stand in the booth. Yeah. Right. And talk to people. And that's how I met like the first investor in First Lite. And he had a bumper crop of tomatoes, California dude.
Yeah.
Sold the fields, the tomatoes, 2 years in a row. I know nothing about tomatoes other than what he told me, which is they're notoriously dangerous to raise because they always cost you money, but when they make you money, they make you a ton of money.
I see.
And he had 2 years in a row, and he was like, I'm going to buy a plane. And his childhood friend was like, how about you don't buy a plane and you invest in this idea that I have, which was the First Lite clothing company.
Yeah.
And I met those guys right at that time. And we ended up going to New Mexico. I ended up guiding those guys in New Mexico. And then they're talking about this clothing stuff. And I'm like, well, do you have this? And do you have that? And they're like, no, that's not what we want to do. We want to do this. But these guys were pretty new to hunting. They were like adult onset hunters.
Yeah.
Super fit. Like really top of the line, like snow sports athletes.
Okay.
Like, so they have plenty of skills, but not the experience on the hunting side. Right. And they're like, well, boy, we'd love to hear more about what you think. We don't know anybody who guides. And that was kind of how that started. And then a couple years down the road, they were just having a hard time, like, being real serious. They were like, okay, we got other jobs. Do we go all in on the clothing thing?
Had they started it yet?
Yeah, they'd started it.
Okay.
They'd come up with this logo that people still say is XD, which is a mountain and a sun coming up. First light of the day. And
you know what? So that is the sun coming up, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've never actually thought about that logo until right now.
Oh, yeah.
It's like when you said it, people still, I was like, oh, okay, that is supposed to be something. I don't even know what I thought it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well, good. I learned something today.
If that's all we do, we've accomplished
It's a
something.
win.
Yes, exactly. So, the angel investor called me and he's like, hey, these guys are going to call you for a job. He's like, I told them I'm tired of like the bickering, and I'm going to pull my cash out unless they hire you full time. And I was working for Warren Miller Entertainment as like a roadie for their ski films, sitting next to the pool in Santa Barbara, as my winter seasonal job. And I was like, oh, I don't know if that's going to be a good deal. But I was like, I should just try something else.
Yeah.
And then a couple months later, I'm like teaching myself how to type, because like the last time I typed on a keyboard was in 5th grade typing class that we had to take, and doing order entry. And then I was also, my first business card was marketing, media, and sales.
That's a lot.
And my job really was to sit in between the two founders, Scott and Kenton, and help them communicate with each other because they were so frustrated with each other of who wasn't doing what, right? Oh. And we got through that first year and they were like, this is fun again.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of kept going. And a good friend of mine called and he's like, he was working for National Wildlife Federation and his job was to go all around Eastern Montana and talk to all the grazing associations about the idea of reestablishing buffalo around the CMR, like a free ranging herd, right? And you can guess what cattle guys think of competition for scarce feed.
Yeah. Not excited about that.
They weren't excited about that. But through that Eastern Montana family of mine, I'd help them talk to people, and I'd be like, oh well, these guys are the Schwankies up here in Square Butte, and at least have some civil conversations, right?
It's a good start.
Yeah, and then he's like, yeah, there's this guy Steven Rinella. He's got a TV show, I guess. And 2 out of the 3 of us at First Lite didn't own a TV. And so we're like, well, okay, we'll figure out how to check this out.
Yeah.
And then we're like, okay, this is neat. And these friends of ours, the Markses, I had two little boys at the time. They were big dudes now. And they're like, oh, yeah, we sit and watch this show. The whole family does.
Yeah.
We're like, well, that's different, right? That's a good thing.
Was it Steve's first show or was it MeatEater?
It was the first show. So it was...
I can't remember what that was called.
Wild Within.
Yes.
Right?
Okay.
Before it went to MeatEater.
Right. Yep.
And then, I went, called him on the phone, chatted a little bit. He was going to be on a book tour that was going to stop in Missoula. And then that Missoula stop had a bunch of conservation groups there. And I had all these buddies working for conservation groups. And I was dating a girl in Missoula. So I was like, well, I'll run up and take her on a date. And hopefully these guys will pay for my gas if I meet Steve.
Yeah, business trip.
Yeah. So I went and did that and met Steve, and that was great. And then went out on a date. Tried to salvage that relationship. And when I was gone, Steve was talking about MeatEater and like what trip he wanted to do, and wanted to do mule deer in the breaks, and wanted to go up to British Columbia, and wanted to do and my buddies were like, oh, you should talk to Cal. Oh, you should talk to Cal. Oh, you should talk to Cal. And so I'm back out on the road, and Steve calls and he's like, hey, what would you think about helping me with some first-time hunters? And I was like, oh, that's great. But this is my first year not guiding. Because, when you guide full-time, like you don't hunt for yourself.
Yeah. So you're looking forward to hunting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, I got some buddies who are awesome, and they'll help you out. He's like, okay, what if I told you they were comedians out of LA? And I was like, not interested. I'm like,
I know what trip this is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's like, okay, what if one of them was this guy, Joe Rogan? And I'm like, the Fear Factor guy? And he's like, yeah, but he's got this podcast and stuff. And I was like, dude, you're not sweetening the pot. And you're not taking no for an answer type of thing. And he was getting frustrated, and I was kind of getting frustrated. And I'm like, listen, I got some buddies who are awesome. They're better than I am. I'll set you up. And Steve ends up hanging up the phone going, well, I can find somebody else too.
Okay. So you guys were there's a tipping point.
Yeah. And so I turned to this buddy of mine. Still a good buddy of mine today. We guided some fly fishing in whitewater together, Ryan Thompson. And I was like, RT, can you believe this guy? Can you believe he just will not take no for an answer. Like, kind of what a jackass, you know? And RT's like, Cal, dude, I know you like hunting, but you should do this.
Yeah.
And I was like, you're supposed to be on my side.
Yeah.
I
got to go babysit these guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was it. So we went and did that trip, and
that was Prince of Wales, right?
That was the Missouri Breaks. That
was Joe's first buck.
Joe's first hunt.
Yeah, that's right. He still talks about. Well, I'm sure because you're going on a show, right? Coming up.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's got that deer still sitting there. I mean, have you been on there since
I haven't been in Austin with him.
Okay.
Yeah.
But no, he still talks about that, cooking that meat, I guess, around the fire that night, and how he's decided right then. And he'll tell the story just with the same enthusiasm he always tells it, because it's like his stories, I think one of his superpowers, he can tell a story for the 100th time, and he's as into it as the first time. And so he's going to tell this story about cooking that, and he took a bite, and he knew at that time this is what he's going to do for the rest of his life. I love that story. Oh,
and that trip just had the things that make a good trip. Like force you to bond. Like, it wasn't warm. It wasn't friendly. It's the Missouri Breaks, and it's kind of, when we started, it was kind of right at that rain snow point. And then when we took off, it was like, I can't remember what it was, like 13 or 14 below zero.
Whoa.
And you know, when it's gray and nasty, it's not like a welcoming landscape,
Right.
all that. And Joe and Brian's first impression was that it was like a post-industrial, they thought like there was a coal mine that had raped and pillaged the land, you know? And they were like, what the fuck is this, you know? And I could hear them chirping, and I finally had to say something because I was a little offended.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is my home state, guys.
Yeah, this is beautiful out here. What are you guys talking about?
You better love this.
This isn't some nuclear,
Yeah, I'm like, you better love it right now, in fact, right? But, you know, it's like when everybody has to deal with some adversity, it just helps glue you together, right?
For sure. So, that bond.
So it was good. It was good.
Well, I mean, Joe talks about how that trip, that was changed his life essentially. And it's like, how incredible is that though? Like you think about the decisions you've made in life and that you didn't really want to do it, but you kind of did it. And I mean, probably changed the trajectory of everything.
Yeah. I mean, it did. I mean, the guys on the work side of things were like, you're still going to be able to answer the phones, right? Mm-hmm. And yeah, I mean, it was the interesting thing that like you just don't realize is, and I still struggle with it, right? Is like being able to just have a conversation is a skill. Mm-hmm. And the production crew, some of those guys are still around. Mo Fallon is, you know, he came off Bourdain's show to launch the MeatEater show. Mm-hmm. And he was like, dude, you got to do this. Like you're great. Mm-hmm. Talking to a camera. I was like, so I'm sure everybody is type of thing, you know?
Yeah.
And they're like, no, this is so much easier for us. And, but you know, that's just kind of a goofy thing. I'm like, well, let me show you how I build a house. Like that's more impressive to me, you know, type of thing. So.
Yeah. And the thing is, not hardly anybody's good at talking to a camera. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, they were right. You're good at it, and most people are terrible at it. So yeah, you got to have that little part of it.
Yeah,
it's hard.
And so we ramped up on the First Lite side of things, and as you know, like the thing that little tiny clothing line, and the biggest thing for us that separated us from everybody else at that moment in time. Things have changed a ton, and I don't want to. I want to be careful with this because it's just the way it was, and people have short memories, especially these days. But brands in the hunting space were not outspoken about conservation issues. Mm-hmm. There were brands that donated tons of money, way more money than we had in our clothing line and in our marketing, like way more. But they just wouldn't talk about it. Mm-hmm. It might be buried on a landing page in the back of the website, but the whole industry was so scared of alienating anybody that it just wasn't out in front. Right. Meanwhile, in the greater outdoor world, you have Patagonia basically in comparison being like a crazy activism group.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
In comparison.
Right.
And this public land sell-off stuff was happening at that time. And I was made aware of it through all these friends in Missoula. That
was this 2017?
This would have been a little bit earlier. It would have been like 2013, 2014. So you have like the Bundys.
Oh, right.
You have Malheur.
God, that was a huge thing.
You have Jason Chaffetz. Like it's all that walk up.
Okay.
But prior to that, kind of like where we're at right now, you had these people being like, hey, you got to be aware of this. You got to be aware of this. This is coming. This is happening. These, you know, like the tumblers are starting to move again. Yeah. And I ended up at a Backcountry Hunters and Anglers meeting in Missoula because I came out of the Frank Church Wilderness where I was working and did what everybody else my age was doing that was guiding, which was you had a pocket full of cash and you're going to go drink beer and chase girls. And I called up my buddies and I was like, where are we drinking beer and chasing girls? And they're like, well, we're going to go to this meeting. I was like, no, what else you got? And they're like, don't worry, there's free beer.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought you said meeting.
Yeah. Exactly. And so we went up there and it was kind of the same deal. And they're like, does anybody guide? You know? They're like, well, what's your story? I'm like, well, this is what I did. And what they were talking about, this idea that people didn't value wilderness areas, like capital W wilderness, was like appalling to me.
Yeah.
Because that's where I spent a ton of my time growing up. Rattlesnake Wilderness outside of Missoula, Bob Marshall Wilderness Complex, and then a bunch of time later on in life in the Frank Church Wilderness. And I would watch these people just have these transformative experiences.
Yeah.
Like transformative. These big time, at least where I was in life, I was like, these are big time CEO people, own chains of hotels or chicken farms or whatever it is. And they would come in, they'd be on sleeping pills and other pills and smoking cigarettes like a fiend. And then, 6-7 days into the wilderness trip, they're like chilled out and they're accepting the fact that they're not in charge of stuff.
Yeah.
And more often than not, like my biggest claim to fame, I'd kind of ease off, and instead of being the guy in the lead all the time, I'd be like, well, hey, I'd do exactly what the old outfitter did for me.
Yeah.
Right? I'd be like, hey, pard,
What do you think?
take the binoculars.
Yeah.
And I can just ease up over that ridge.
Yeah.
And tell me what you see, And these guys are listening to like a 21-year-old kid.
Right.
But they're like, should I?
Yeah. And when they started, they would never listen to you, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that was just crazy that people wouldn't value wilderness, because I was like, well, I've seen it. Mm-hmm. And these people aren't Montana people or Idaho people or Wyoming people. They're North Carolina, South Carolina, New York.
Ketone IQ is now backed by research from KU Leuven and Team Visma. Ketone IQ is showing powerful results in helping your body bounce back quicker and push harder, especially in tough, low oxygen conditions. Here's what the science says. Number 1, ketones support EPO production. Yes, you heard that right. EPO. That's a hormone that boosts red blood cell count and helps deliver more oxygen to your muscles. 2, they improve blood flow and vasodilation, getting oxygen and nutrients where you need them faster. 3, and also they enhance brain oxygenation for better endurance, sharper focus, and quicker recovery. For better endurance, sharper focus, and quicker recovery. Whether you're an endurance athlete, a weekend warrior, or just someone who trains with purpose, Ketone IQ is the edge your body's been waiting for. Ready to unlock next level performance? Go to ketone.com/cam for 10% off and 30% off your first purchase. Mud Water is a Healthy Habits brand best known for its popular caffeine alternative. It's got 4 functional mushrooms, and the purpose is to never leave you feeling jittery. Don't get me wrong, I love coffee and usually drink 5 to 6 cups a day, but Mud Water has helped me cut back a little bit, especially once afternoon hits. I still even throw a little Mud Water in with my coffee, and they have a really good coffee creamer with MCT oil. Each ingredient was added for a purpose. Cacao and chai for a hint of caffeine and hot chocolate-like flavor. Lion's mane for focus, and both chaga and reishi to support healthy immune system. Plus, it's Whole30 approved, 100% USDA certified organic, non-GMO, gluten-free, vegan, and kosher. Mudwater donates monthly to support psychedelic research and has since day one. They believe the country is in a mental health epidemic and that psychedelic-assisted therapy is one of the most effective tools we have to treat mental health conditions. Mudwater is hooking up my show with a special offer. If you go to mudwater.com/Cam Hanes, you get a free frother and $20 off. That's mudwater.com/Cam Hanes for a free frother and $20 off.
First elk hunters I ever guided were, Nunzio was my guy. and he was fantastic, right? And he was shooting a compound bow in Queens, New York, 10 yards inside of his apartment. He's like, dude, that's what I got.
Yeah, doing all he can. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was just like amazed that somebody could do that, would ride his bike in Central Park or, whatever. And he's like, yeah, that's what I do, So anyway.
How'd that hunt go, by the way?
With Nunzio?
Yeah.
Nuns?
Yeah.
It was a bit of a cluster. It was, yeah, man, we worked so hard, and it was early in the guiding career for archery elk. And, I just couldn't I just didn't know what I didn't know. Right.
Yeah.
And
getting a bull in close is tough.
Yeah. And bull runs in and I'm backing up because just him and I.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, that bull came into like 5 yards and it was just a chest shot.
Yeah.
I was like, well, why didn't you shoot it? He's like, why didn't you tell me that's a good shot? And I'm like, oh my God.
There's so much to learn.
Yeah.
Hunting. Yeah.
And just so many variables that you can't explain them all. And
I know.
Yeah. And getting people set up is tough.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
But it was awesome. Mm-hmm. It was awesome. And just learning like what got those guys out of Queens to come out there. And
it's incredible.
And like these big city folks like can kind of get shit on, but the level of dedication and what they have to do to stick with this stuff.
Yeah.
Like I know plenty of guys out here in the West that, man, they're grabbing the golf clubs, not sticking with the hunting stuff if that's what they have to go through.
Yeah. I mean, it's like here you can buy an over-the-counter elk tag still in Western Oregon and just go right here.
Right.
And that's too much for some people. So imagine somebody in New York who's like got to exercise in Central Park and shoot in their apartment, and they're still willing to sacrifice. But yeah, I mean, but also then there are people out here who are just ate up with it and just think about it every second of every day, like probably us. But, yeah.
But yeah, so anyway, we started talking about public land, because public lands were under threat, and it was just the truth. It was easy. It was simple. It was like this whole company was founded on public land. Like the origin story was. So
this is First Lite again, or
First
BHA?
Lite.
Okay,
First
yeah,
Lite.
because you're talking about that BHA meeting for a second.
Yeah. Well, those guys kind of got me like quote unquote activated, thinking of it, aware of the threats, right?
This world out here.
Yeah. And then like a year goes by, I'm at First Lite. Again, I'm like sales, marketing, media. Plus I'm doing all the like background product research on fabrics or fit or all the things, three-man band, right? I lived in the garage underneath the office. And I brought my 1971 camper trailer that I bought off the old outfitter, put it in the garage.
Was this in Idaho?
In Idaho.
Okay.
Was living in there. It pissed my one boss, Scott, off a ton because he was like, that thing is just a big piece of crap. And everybody who walked in would be like, oh, cool camper. And he's like, you got to get that out of here. But we just started being like, hey, your public lands. First Lite, public lands. First Lite, access. First Lite, public lands. And all of a sudden, people start buying stuff. And the brand just starts getting huge for us. Huge, right? I mean, we're tiny.
Right.
But people are talking about us. People are buying stuff. We're selling out of everything. The bigger brands, like big legacy brands, are calling me and being like, hey, Ryan, love what you're doing, but just so you know, you're going to alienate people and you can't afford to do that. The pie is not that big.
By talking activism and public land. And,
by just talking. And to us, it wasn't activism. It was like, well, if they take that away, that's where we go.
Yeah.
What are we going to do?
Right.
Right. And all we did was archery hunt. Like the three of us, that's all we did at the time. And it was all hyper local. It was like right out the back door. It was like, well, God, this is exactly the stuff that they're talking about. And then I started doing research and reaching out to big companies in the bigger outdoor space and got a hold of these reports telling me how big the pie is, right? And I'm like, well, it's a $3 billion industry. Mm-hmm. I'm like, we're doing like $2 million right now.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Seems like there's some more pie.
there's a lot of pie out there, guys.
Yeah.
I'm like, what if we got to $7 million?
Yeah.
Like that's
Balling.
yeah, there's still a ton of pie left then too, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what we did. And I think the brand's still like very much known for, just having that good public lands ethos. And that's where our customer base hunts, and it's relatable, and that's where we're testing the products. And that was kind of like the whole startup deal. And then, Steve came in and we're like, God, this guy's so similar to what we do. And it turns out it's like, well, it's similar to what most hunters do.
Yeah.
Like it turns out they eat their food too. Right. You know?
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, we're a long way down the road from that, but kind of back in that same public lands type hot topic scenario.
Yeah. Well,
right?
So when you talk about at that time, you said, well, that's what we do. And you talk about public lands. What was the threat back then? Was it the same threat that we're dealing with now, or was it a little bit different?
Yeah. So, same threat, kind of different story, right? So like, the Bundys were talking about transferring all land, and they were really whipping people up on, really strong anti-government. Federal land is not constitutional, and basically like it was spun as like a government overreach type of argument.
Right.
And then that coalesced around this moment where, and it's so similar to right now in the fact where you have this buildup, and then some politician comes in and tries to capitalize on it. And the politician at that time was Jason Chaffetz. And he was like, oh, here's a bill to sell 2.3 million acres. And
Disposable
Yep.
land. Yeah.
Yep. Low value. Nobody cares about it.
Yeah.
And, all of a sudden, Joe Rogan's got a public landowner t-shirt. We're on his podcast. Everybody's talking about public lands. All the Utah boys, all of our flat brim bros are like, oh my God, public lands are awesome.
land.
What's going on? We hunt, these are our over the counter tags. This is, and it was a huge like tidal wave moment. Right. And all of a sudden, Chaffetz has his strange kind of, I love all dogs, but the picture was strange, like hound dog-ish thing and a odd fitting hunting coat being like,
by the fire.
I swear to God, I hunt,
Yeah.
And then, he smashed that bill and things just kind of simmered down ever so slowly with no resolution. I feel like a lot of people just kind of like forgot about this idea that it's, I don't want to call it like class warfare because that's not what I'm about at all. But this idea that quite simply, if somebody can't have it, it makes them want it more.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you think they see this, like right now, Senator Mike Lee, he sees all that land and he's like,
this is the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I think. Don't you think that, and maybe we've talked about this because we've talked, in the course of all this, but when they have the House, the Senate, and the presidency, they can be more aggressive, right?
Yeah.
I'm a Republican, so I'm not saying they like somebody else.
Yeah, you can say we.
I mean, it's we.
I think now more than ever, people need to be reminded, like, the government is us. It's we the people.
Yeah.
Right? And if you don't want to participate, somebody will participate for you.
Yeah.
Right?
Make those decisions.
Yeah. So, we.
Well, it's, I think most people probably listening know what we've been dealing with lately, but there was a big threat to public land. Essentially, I'll just just so we can catch everybody up to speed. Recently, a senator was proposing selling public, they say a small portion of public land, 0.5%, something like that. But when you talk about, 200 however many million acres, that percent, that's even a small percentage is more land than we want to sell as public land hunters. But yeah, so the senator was proposing this. They were trying to sell it. I think not originally. It wasn't billed as affordable housing originally. I think that was that's what it ended up, because I heard even Trump mention it, we need more affordable housing. Yep. That's not what it was about to start off that I saw. I never saw any affordable housing mentioned, but yeah. So
the affordable housing was in the sales pitch, not the language,
right.
Not in the text of the bill.
Right.
Yeah. And the text of the bill was really left up to broad interpretation. It was very vague. Mm-hmm. But I hate saying I have favorite parts of it, but one of my favorite parts, right, is bullet point 1. Land eligible for sale has to be near existing infrastructure. Then you get all the way down to bullet point number 7, or very far away from existing infrastructure, and it's so everything in between. So the stuff that's really close and the stuff that's really far away, and everything in between.
Yeah.
Right. And then, I had called you because there were these bellwether moments of awareness, and, we've been feeling the tide rise on this for months and months. And the language coming out of Lee's office was getting more and more bold. And for people who don't understand the history here, Lee, the only positive thing, or I guess admirable thing I can say about him, is he's been out front and he's been consistent, mm-hmm. right? But he's changed his language ever so subtly now, because he used to just flat out say the federal government should not own any land. Mm-hmm. I want to sell it all. And he said that over and over and over and over again. And now he's trying to work on his sales pitch, right? Mm-hmm. But the first one was, I think, 0.5% of all Forest Service and up to 0.75% of all BLM in these 11 Western states. And the lands eligible would come from 500 million acres would be eligible, and then you could pull those parcels from here and there, and fortunately, the Wilderness Society produced this map of okay, well, here's the eligible part, and people could look at that map and be like, oh my God, mm-hmm. that's my spot.
Yeah.
Right? My public land spot is on
my favorite spot. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, obviously that helped a ton, because people need context, right?
Yeah.
It's they're selling public land. What are they selling? Oh, stuff that's not valuable.
Well, because Lee and his whoever, they weren't putting out anything saying, mm-hmm. here's what we're talking about.
Exactly.
Because they wanted it vague.
Yep.
But then, you talked about the Wilderness Society did put that out, but that was a big, people didn't know what we're talking about, because they make it sound it's this, nobody ever uses it. It's wait, who's nobody? First of all, the people that do use it that you don't know, they probably are concerned about this.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what do you think?
In low value, garden variety, all these
I know. These terms that they're using just to label it is just to get people settled down, basically.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to think about, they're going to sell Yellowstone. So they would go, or Glacier or whatever. So they would go to the exact opposite of what people think about when they think about beauty and mountains and parks.
Yeah.
And they're okay, so what would be the exact opposite of that? Well, that's just, low value or whatever.
Yeah. And don't worry, we're not selling the national parks. I got so sick of hearing that. I'm God almighty, there's not a single hunter out here who ever mentioned national parks.
Right.
None of us are worried that you're going to sell Yosemite or Yellowstone or Grand Teton. Mm-hmm. We're talking about the low value lands.
Yeah.
The places that we run our bird dogs. It's
close to town after work. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, I don't know. I don't know. I've never been so frustrated. But so what kind of context could we put out there that would help explain this a little bit more? So we have the senator thinks there should be the country shouldn't own any land.
Yep.
Essentially, right?
Yep.
So why do you think why is this his mission, if you had to guess?
Man, I'd rather not guess. I mean, there's all these existing theories. I've never talked to the guy. I've only been in the same hallway with him once. And he didn't look like he was in a real chatty mood at the time. But, those theories range from like real hardline religious ideology to just participation in these land sell-off think tanks. I don't know what the truth is. But I guess I don't know what the truth is other than the fact that people love public lands and people from all walks of life use public lands. And with the exception of a lot of these people who live in DC full time.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and so, yeah, I'm sure this stuff's low value to them.
Yeah.
But they have just quit rubbing shoulders with the rank and file American, and it just shows more and more and more.
Right.
So,
and I do think it's probably an easy, because Trump is a business guy, right? So he probably loves the numbers, thinking about what we could do with this land and turn this into that and what it would result in money-wise, but it's not the point.
Well, it's not the point, too, but, I mean, it's like they are money producers, and it's like if you need to dig yourself out of debt, it's like, do you sell the apartment building that you own that's putting money back in? Like, what do you do? I mean, I don't, the value worldwide of untrammeled land just keeps going up and up. And the United States of America and Canada are like leading the charge in extremely high ecological value lands that have not been screwed up yet.
Right.
And the value of that just goes up and up and up and up, So the kind of going back to, some of the stuff that you've been saying on the motivation of Lee, has to be spot on. It's like, well, I already promised that we were going to sell this land.
Yeah.
And now I got to go to those entities and say, oh, this isn't going through right now, which isn't fun. But, again, like he never gave the quote unquote public landowner the fair public process to say whether we value them or not. Yeah. And that came in gradually building and building and building into like this groundswell moment here that just like, I think it peaked about 2.5 days ago. And it just got pulled out last night at, what is it? 8:30, 9 o'clock Pacific time. Yeah. So, people were kind of getting beat up on the messaging and it's so frustrating to call and leave messages and not get a real response from a real person, or you get a form letter that kind of addresses something but really says what they wanted to say the whole time. And so I get it, but that stuff really made a difference. Yeah. No. Really made a difference.
Do you think there's ever been anything like that happen in politics? Do you think their phones have ever been and their emails have ever been as active as they were with this? Because I don't think so. I know that we both talked to the same reporter from New York Times, and she said, do you think they anticipated this? And I was just like, I don't think so, because I think this is like a big wake-up call. And I think they sort of forgot. And I said, I don't know what you guys think about land out, in the back east in New York or whatever, but out west, it's a big deal. And I don't know if it's hard to think that they wouldn't know that, or Lee wouldn't know that, but maybe it's just being in that DC bubble so long, couldn't have forgot. But it seems like, did you guys forget? You just get
I don't want to make excuses for the guy, because I think the guy still wants to sell this stuff. But yeah, I think, you get further away from the guy who looks like he's going to punch you in the face. And eventually you're like, oh, it was just an argument. He didn't really want to punch me in the face.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Type of thing. Man, there are so many people that use these places all the time. And, because of how we all have a hand in this, how we've all made party politics and wanted to distance ourselves from the crazy. It took a long time to get a hold of all these people. Like, oh, dude, your off-road group, do they go out here? Great. Well, it's going to be up for sale.
Might be gone.
Like it's happening. Your archery group, your crew that you go out and golf with, bird watchers, dog walkers, trail runners, ultra marathoners. And we all have this huge overlap in the middle of the Venn diagram of just wanting to be outside and having some space.
Yeah.
And most people don't have a lot of options other than, these lands that are held in the federal trust, right? The public trust. And I think it's a great time for the hunting and angling crowd to be out here and be out front and say, yeah, this stuff is special. And without it, we kind of go away.
Yeah.
And our guns go away. And, National Shooting Sports Foundation, when we first went through this, my first time really being in it, in that, 2012, 13, 14 range, they had released some numbers that I didn't see them get to this time around on like what happens to gun ownership with lack of access and gun sales and ammunition sales.
Oh, okay. I hadn't seen that.
And, it goes down.
Oh, yeah.
And if you can't use something, pretty soon you're like, I got to free up space. And then you just don't have it anymore.
Right.
And and then we talk about the next generation of hunters, or just people who appreciate the outdoors. If it's every weekend right now, and then all of a sudden it's once a month and it's a bigger trip.
Yeah.
And, I always sound like I'm beating up on golf, but it's like, burn less cash going to the golf course, and you can walk around and you have that weird thing where your golf cart follows you around. I saw that for the first time when I was in California a few weeks ago. That's a weird deal. But I don't think most of these lawmakers have had their phones ring like that on one issue for possibly ever. I know, like using the Backcountry Hunters and Anglers Action Alert Center, when it was in the house and we got it withdrawn out of the house, we had 14,000 calls in one day. And, that goes, they really don't, we need to get to this, but you call your senator, or when it was in the House, your representative, and say, this is what you got to do. This stuff means a ton to me. This is what you got to do. And then they take it from there. That's the way the system's set up. When it's in the Senate, you call your senator. They take your request from there. That's the way the system's set up. At the end here, you're yelling like, call your senator. I know you've done it already. But then also called John Thune's office, right? He's the Senate Majority Leader.
Right.
And people were like, man, I don't know if they really listen to that because it's supposed to be the representative. I'm like, well, I don't care, because the guy he's got a hell of a lot more responsibility than just the state of South Dakota. And I love South Dakota.
Yeah.
It is a sportsman's paradise. But like those channels, you start feeling like they're not working, right? At the end of the Senate fight, or like I said, about 2 days ago, that BHA Action Center, in one day, 40,000 people used it to call or email their senator in one day.
Yeah.
And the bulk of those calls and emails were in those 11 states. And that's more action on the email and phone lines than those people may get in their entire rest of their career.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a really big deal. And folks always ask, like, well, what's the most impact I can make? Well, hit the switchboard, make a phone call, make an email. Those form letter systems, they matter too, because groups that do have government affairs teams, they can also like point back, right? Like that allows us at BHA to track the traffic and be like, okay, we know for a fact that 3,500 people called your office today. Right. And those are people, you have to put in your address. So those are people in your district.
Yeah.
They're the people who vote for you or don't vote for you. And 3,500 people called you today.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a lot of calls.
I'm like, can we talk about that?
Yeah.
And so it's that data that does matter. And I know once you do it once, you're like, okay, I feel good about that. And then you do it again. You're like, okay, still feeling good. And then you do it again and you're like,
God, is this doing anything? Yeah. But it did. Can you explain too, because I was telling both Randy Newberg and you, I wish I was as good as you guys at this. I'm not good at it, but could you explain, people were saying that I thought this was already resolved or whatever, because how it worked was it was at the House. So this huge bill, which I hate these huge bills anyway. There's so much garbage in there that just gets lumped in. But so it goes to, first it's in the House, and the language has to be the exact same, both in the House and the Senate. So they took this public land sales out of the House, it went to the Senate, Lee added it back in. Then if it stays in there, the House would have to approve it, right?
Yes.
And then it would go to the president to get signed. But both the Senate and the House have to agree on the exact same language, and then it gets signed into law. Yep,
exactly.
Okay.
So if the Senate would have been like, hey, House, great job, everything looks great here, then they would have, it basically just would have gone to the floor for a vote. They would have voted on it in the Senate, would have gone to the House would have voted on it, up to Trump's desk, big, beautiful bill, done.
Right.
But because of those changes, the House then would have to review those changes. But what happened this time is and I don't even think Lee's press release is something people should read, because it is so misleading.
It's such BS.
It is. It's like
it kind of contradicts itself.
Yeah.
From the middle to the end.
Yeah, it's like a gut shot kill, right? You're like, man,
let's not do that again. Got it done, but
I got that bull, but man, I don't feel good about it.
Right.
Like, it could have been a better way. But I wish it would have been a better way. But I'm trying to feel really good about it. So this is what people need to know, and this is what I have real heartburn over, because I do 100% believe in we the people. Like, your person lost in the election, that's still your president.
Yeah.
Right? That's still your senator.
Yeah.
Right? If you win, that's your president, that's your senator, that's your representative. You're not off the hook. You're still a citizen. You got to exercise your right to keep these folks straight and representing you. This is proof in the pudding that the election isn't all there is to being a responsible hunter, conservationist, citizen of the United States. Like, yeah, it's not always fun, but as we used to say, the not fun stuff is actually what you get paid for, right?
Well, the people that are saying like, this is what you voted for, that's what drives me so fucking insane, because it's like, no, that's not what I voted for. That's why we're pushing back on this, because we didn't vote for just to sell public land. But they're like, if you make a vote, then you're just stuck with it. You can't say one word about anything. No, that's not how it works in America.
And by the way, is that really what you want?
Yeah, no.
Like, I'm asking people, I'm like, okay, sure, you got your point out there, but what's your goal?
Yeah.
Like, do you want public lands, or do you not want public
Right.
lands?
What's the point here?
If you don't, you're making a great point, and the 54% of America that voted for Trump can shut up, and you're going to lose your public lands.
Yeah.
And then if that's your goal, great strategy, right?
God.
But if your goal's public lands and saving public lands for you and the next generation, put your bullshit aside.
Yeah. Can we get past this part? Yeah.
Yeah. And hopefully we all learn and grow and do adult things.
Yeah.
And keep the wheels on this train, right? And we'll save public lands, and then when it comes election time, we can start having those fun talks again. But guess what?
Yeah.
If you want to wait for election time, you're going to lose a bunch of really good shit between then and now.
It's 3.5 years.
Is that your choice?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So here's the thing that just absolutely chaps my ass. Mike Lee, he's a senior senator. Mm-hmm. He is also the chair of the Senate Energy and Natural Resources Committee. There's other senior senators there. Heinrichs is one of them. We were talking about him earlier, probably before we were recording. And it is so difficult to get anything done without the support of the committee chair. That's the main excuse here, is like, well, I can't be too strong on this because I have other things I want to get done. And Lee has made
that support
crystal clear that good stuff that I want to do for my constituents will not get done unless I support him on this, or if not support, just don't say anything.
Right.
And I mean, we got to be able, like, once you have somebody who just refuses to work on good things that will benefit the American people, what do you do with that person? Like, you have got to be able to work around that dude.
Yeah.
And that's where, the John Thune angle would come in, where he can override that committee chair. And, so that's why we were saying, like, well, somebody's got to step up and be an adult here.
Yeah.
We got this kid in the middle who refuses to let go of the ball.
Right.
Everybody else wants to play.
Yeah.
Everybody else wants to play, but we only got one ball.
Yeah.
And this guy's standing there white knuckled on it.
Right.
What do we do? Like, is this really how our government's supposed to work?
Yeah, that's what I could not get over. I don't know if I didn't know how it worked or if this was a unique situation. I could not it seems so wrong that one person, Senator Mike Lee, can hold that ball essentially, but he wants to sell federal public lands or just public land and can almost do it. One person can almost get that done. With the public, without social media, we really had no say. Yeah, we vote. He got votes to be in his position, so I guess you could say, he was
democratically
whatever,
voted in,
given the rights to make decisions for his voters or whatever. But over something this big that could change a country forever, how can one person essentially almost make that happen?
Yeah, and we can't say
the whole
could.
country
It would have. Like, once it's gone, it is gone. That is just the absolute fact of it.
Yeah.
And man, all the things that we talk about,
and
right?
the whole country, nobody was on board with it, and still almost happened.
Yeah.
Why? How can that happen, and how do we fix that?
Yeah, our government relations person was like, I was talking to, I can't remember, I'm not as good as they are. I was talking to somebody in Maine. They're like, we don't have, this is not a Maine issue. Like, I've gotten more calls on this than anything else. Anything else. People calling my office saying, don't sell public lands.
This is the main person.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. And it's like everybody.
So the whole country said no. And
this person who's supposed to represent his district in the state of Utah is giving the bird to the entire rest of the country. And it has sucked up all the volume in the room.
Yeah.
All the volume in the room. So we have all these other threats to access, hunting access, Boundary Waters Canoe Area, right? Big foreign-owned mine in our freshwater reserves, the most visited wilderness area in the entire United States, the most accessible wilderness. And that's one of the biggest gripes about wilderness. Well, you can't go in there, is what people like to say. Well, millions of people visit the Boundary Waters.
Yeah.
You got ANWR, Arctic National Wildlife Refuge. I was just up there. We were talking about you.
Oh.
Yeah, because the folks on the trip were like, "Oh, don't you think Cam Haines would like to come up here?" I'm like, yeah. Absolutely he would.
Yeah.
Every hunter would. I mean, the Brooks Range and oh my God.
Beautiful.
Yeah. They want mandatory lease sales right on the Arctic plain where the caribou calve and all of our migratory birds go up to, and things that are like going to impact all of us have gotten so little attention. The roadless rule rescission.
Yeah, that's part of this too, isn't it? Or
that's
is that
not in
separate?
this. That's a separate thing. There's going to be a 30-day comment period that people need to weigh in on. Read the text. I keep telling people, I'm like, this is not information that's exclusive to me or you. It is. Go to the federalregister.gov and read it for yourself.
Yeah, but that's your point, is like that took up so much of everybody's energy and focus, and there's all these other things. So you wonder, is like, was that a distraction to push this other shit through? You know what I mean? That's what people like they label stuff as conspiracy theories now, but you have to wonder, was this a ploy somehow? Or like I would wonder, was this a ploy to push something else through? Because you don't know. Like I said, these big bills have, who knows what's in there. I mean, it's 1,000 pages. I haven't read the whole thing. Have you?
No. I went straight to page 202 and looked at public.
Yeah, I know. But that's what's pretty frustrating, is you wonder what they're up to. And it used to be, I think we were kind of tricked into believing they have our best interest at heart or in mind. Now,
heavy dose of skepticism, right?
Definitely. And
I laugh at the people online who are like, "Oh, you're a Trumper, you're a Republican, you're a lefty, you're a liberal," depending on whatever I say that day. Mm-hmm. And I just gotta laugh, man. I'm like, gang, if you think I'm in bed with either side at this point, like, I just can't. I just cannot. Like, I'm trying to find the right people. I'm doing my research. I'm trying to make the best decisions. I'm like, also, like, on the presidential ticket, man, Harris had land sales in there too. Yeah. She was just doing it through the existing legal structure, which is a hell of a lot better than what Lee was doing. Mm-hmm. And that's like the thing that people have got to understand. BLM has Federal Land Transfer Facilitation Act. As we've already covered, I'm a freaking college dropout. Mm-hmm. Okay, I didn't get good grades. I just love being outside. And you can use the internet for good or evil. Mm-hmm. I look this stuff up and read it, and it's like, that exists on the, FLIPFA is the Forest Service side. BLM is FLIPMA, Federal Land Policy Management Act. But this country has used those. They're voter approved. Are they perfect? Absolutely not. I would have been ultra frickin' pissed at Harris, and I would have been beating this drum, and BHA would have been just as pissed on those land sales, because they were super broad in language. It was affordable housing. Yeah. Right? And it's like, affordable to who? Right. Oh, no, it's not affordable. It's attainable housing. Mm. Okay, well, attainable to who? Right. Right? What I point out often is Biden sold a chunk The sale didn't actually go through. It was Nevada, King County's Vegas, isn't it? Is King County? Yeah. And the last time I looked, it happened under Biden. The actual sale didn't happen until Trump was, but this is a Biden thing.
Yeah.
And I think it was March is when it happened. There were 5 tracks to address the affordable housing crisis. I looked at it months later, and only 3 of the 5 tracks had bids on them. Right? I'm like, this is a crisis.
Mm-hmm. What's going on? Yeah.
Shouldn't they all have sold like that?
Right.
Right? And so heavy dose of skepticism.
So
I don't care where it's coming from.
I wonder what that was. I wonder if that was to open up something else.
That was BLM. It was supposed to. I contacted. There were like 3 little stories out of Vegas newspapers on that sale, and I reached out to the reporters. I get real OCD and start going like, I got to figure this out.
Yeah,
and they couldn't really explain it either, but they said that there was just a lot of local pushback, right? Because you have people who, there's a $350,000 house here and there's a $400,000 house here. And the difference is the backyard of this one looks out on the BLM land and the backyard of this one looks out on another house.
Right.
And so the people with the backyards that looked out on BLM, they're like, hell no, we don't want you building houses out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Screws up our view.
Yeah. And we already paid a
value.
premium on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, it's infuriating. Where I'm at right now and is like, people are dying for this conservative Republican, anybody to come out and be like, public lands are not for sale. Don't care.
Yeah.
Ryan Zinke's doing in the House, leading the charge. Tim Sheehy's close. He's now our new Montana senator, freshman senator. But just be a champion for this.
Yeah.
It's not that hard.
Yeah. Just
say it.
Yeah.
Say it.
Yeah.
Do it. And change this shit.
Yeah. It's somebody's asking me if there would be a way, like, if you trusted what they were saying, like if we needed to create more affordable housing, they said, would there be a way to do that? And I was like, yeah, I mean, I'm sure, but with Senator Lee, nobody trusts what he's saying because he keeps changing it. But yeah, I mean, if maybe there would be some land around a city, maybe, but it's just like nobody trusts it that they're doing it for the right reason. That's just like a scam just to get basically the who knows what, develop public land, somebody's going to make money off of it, sell it to China, BlackRock, Bill Gates, who knows. But if you probably could have a discussion if you started off on like going down the right road, basically. Yeah. But what I see, and I don't know what you see, I go up to Portland, I see all the businesses in the city are vacant because we've had riots, we've had different things like that. So we talk about these public lands they want to sell for affordable housing that they have to build an infrastructure on. Roads, water, power, gas lines, infrastructure just to build these houses where there's already a vacant city right now with buildings with nobody in them. Turn those into, if you're worried about living quarters, turn that into affordable housing. And the infrastructure's already set up. So it seems like a lot of excuses to get to, some prime real estate for whatever reason, for somebody to make money. It's not for what they say. That's I think that's the biggest problem I have. It's like, I just don't trust that their intentions are pure.
Oh, darn right, man. I mean, any of these boom towns, any one of them. I was talking about my buddy Kyler, Rocky Mountain Remodel. That dude could whip you out the proper zoning, how to make affordable housing in 15 minutes probably.
Yeah.
Why is it so hard for our elected officials to do that? Right? Outline it. Like, you can't throw a rock in these boom towns without hitting a contractor of some sort.
Yeah.
Right? And all we got was this like vague zoning language that, like high density, affordable housing is possible there, but also a house on 2 to 5 acres is possible there. And I think probably what's going to get built is the thing that makes the contractor the most money.
Right. Yeah.
More than likely.
Right. So I think that nobody trusts that that's the goal. The goal is something else, for somebody else to make money. But if, I don't know.
But like let's re-beautify this stuff. Let's put the grease into the existing infrastructure that we have. Has anybody done an analysis of what's standing and empty or vacant, and what's it going to take?
Start there.
Right?
Start there.
Reduce, reuse, recycle.
Yeah.
That old tune.
Yeah, that was so frustrating, and I can't believe. I mean, we made it. It feels like I'm still nervous to celebrate, sort of, because I'm just waiting for some revision or like, this happened or they did this. But it was, I don't know. I'm just nervous. I'm nervous that we won this one, but I'm hoping that the outpour of support and concern, hopefully this gets them thinking about the next time they try this, because they're like, okay, we got to do a better job at whatever they're trying to do. But they see that what happens when they get the public riled up. And we have this vehicle, because without social media, this wouldn't have happened. How would we have made this happen without social media? And people talk a lot of shit about social media. Hunters,
absolutely,
we do all the time, but man, it sure worked in our favor this time, didn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it can be used for good or evil, right? Yeah. And, I always tell people, I'm like, sign up for those newsletters. Like whether you're a member of a hook and bullet conservation organization or not, you can sign up for the newsletter, then learn about it. And then you can choose to pay your $30 and be a member, or donate a couple for when they're doing good stuff that aligns with you. Well, that mailing list only grows a little bit, and social media, once the algorithm kicks in, it can gain traction. It's not reliable by any means, but
gets a message out.
It gets the message out, and there's some ripple effects there, and it's right at people's fingertips, and they can share it. And damn right, I saw a lot of alignment, a lot of positive alignment. And the next move, like I will make a gentleman's wager right now. The next move is going to be to divide us. They're gonna figure out, like, okay, let's come up with a crazy gun issue. Let's come up with something that can rip this community apart in different ways. And then once they're divided, we're going to try it again.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, that's the playbook. And we have got to just put that little ticky-tack BS away and focus again. Like, what's your goal?
Yeah, I know. So are you saying, so if we say, what have we learned from this? What did we do good, and what could we do better? So tell me, like, with this exercise, what's your takeaway, your positive takeaways?
Positive takeaways is we reaffirmed what we already knew. Like, this stuff means a lot to a wide variety of people. It's not exclusive to these 11 Western states. I am so proud of my Montana people, because Montana was exempt from this.
Right.
And we have the data at BHA to show that Montana people kept calling and kept emailing the whole way through. Even though our public lands
were okay,
weren't going to be sold off, but that's not what public lands are. Public lands are our public lands, whether they're in Oregon or Washington or Idaho or Montana or wherever. They're ours, and that's the way we got to think about them, right? And that's the only way you're going to get your ass up to the Brooks Range one of these days, is if it's still public, right?
Yeah.
So that was a huge positive one. Yeah. I mean, information, awareness, some trust, right? Like certainly people are like, I mean, when I called you and I told you I could kiss you or whatever, like you're a trusted third party. Like, oh, okay, Cam says it's real now. It's real now.
Yeah.
Like we identified some of that. I think, and I do my damnedest. I screwed up sometimes, but those of us who are willing to go a little slow in order to be factual and have the actual information, retain that trust. The organizations that weren't hyperbolic and, oh my God, the sky is falling all the time, but sometimes we're a little bit behind the news cycle, are going to retain that trust. And hopefully people are like, okay, yeah, these organizations were good. I never had to backpedal on what I said to a buddy because I trusted what I read in the newsletter or the action alert. I think that's all positive, and we just need to retain this awareness, right? And I think also the information sharing that we were talking about, because information's not coming out to these like historically trusted organizations like it used to from the White House or the administration or our level of senators or Congress people sometimes. There's been a lot more information sharing amongst the conservation groups, which is, I think, a net positive as well.
Right.
And, you know, I think like people just understand a little bit more that it's freaking important, and they're going to take this stuff from you. Like what you said about the conspiracy theory, it takes all that, and okay, don't look over here because, yeah, this is scary.
Yeah.
They're still going to take that if it's easy.
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, man, my gut's in like knots thinking about the stuff that we're potentially going to lose.
So,
but I know, if they're like, oh, see, they rolled over.
Yeah.
They still would have taken it.
So
and then they would have asked for more.
Who's they? So when I think of it, I'm going to sound crazy, but to me, what I was thinking in my head, people like us are the enemy. People like independent thinkers, self-sufficient. We can get out there. We can survive in the mountains. We can provide for ourselves. To me, they don't like people like us because we're hard to control.
Yeah.
They can control consumers that live in a city who rely on somebody for everything. Pretty easy to control those people. People out west here, more independent type people, it's tougher. I feel like they, I don't know who it is, but want to take the power away from. So when you think about, well, gun control, they say, well, you don't need this for hunting. It's just this way to, you talk about segregating these small groups, right?
Yeah.
It's like, well, we'll take it from hunters. Like, oh, I thought you said it was for home protection or your everyday carry. So you wouldn't need this or that. Well, now they're just separating things. But when you say they, who's they?
To me, they are the people who do not know the value of public lands.
Okay. Yep.
And there's a lot of they on all sides of the aisle because they are so far removed, right? It's like, I say this over and over again, so I apologize, but once you start thinking that food comes from the grocery store,
yeah,
right? I mean, it's a real thing,
right?
Like, there's a lot of responsibility in taking that animal's life, and it stays with you. And it's not, I'm not, we had like the gut shot animal analogy, like that stuff sticks with you. And I can remember the first time it happened to me and the last time and a bunch of the times in between. And it's hard. But man, that's where I prefer to get my meat. And I work hard to make it go as well as it can, the majority of the time. Right. But there's all these people out there who are like, well, can't you raise that stuff from cells in a lab? Or what about the vegan option? That's coming from a lab, right?
Yeah.
And I'm fighting back against that stuff hard because when we devalue the food and think it can come from another source, then we also devalue that land. Right? And man, I am pro farm, pro ranch for a lot of different reasons. Part of my upbringing for sure, but that land provides so much value to the American people just doing what it's doing. Rangeland is creating clean air. It's a big carbon sink. It keeps the water table healthy, and we can graze cattle on it. Thank God.
Yeah.
Because if we couldn't, there'd be another reason to take the damn stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that to me is just like the people who are disconnected and don't know. And like we talked a ton about Republicans during this fight because the Republicans have the majority in the House and the Senate. That's why. There were badass Democrats that were working really hard the whole time because they do believe in public lands, or at least believe in their voter base that believe in public lands.
Yeah.
But there were damn sure Democrats that got talked about on a bunch of emails I'm on and a bunch of text threads I'm on with people, government affairs teams at different organizations who are like, they want this. Like, they love the affordable housing language.
Yeah.
They love it.
Of course.
Right? And it's like, that's an easy win for their demographic where they are, right?
Yeah, because who would say, oh, you don't want affordable housing?
Right.
You don't care about people?
You want to kick people out on the street?
You want them to live on have no place to live in their car, and they live in their car? Yeah, so it's an easy one. You know, I was just thinking of this too. You know who, I mean, we talk about wins. It's when I was looking for an update on stuff, it wasn't the news sources. It was you, Randy Newberg. It was just people, regular people. That's who, when I was like, I want the latest on what's going on. That's crazy. Where it's not an organization or a news or whatever. It's just somebody who's connected, and you can trust that person because whatever they say, that's real. That, to me, that was huge. I mean, the trust part, or you said the third party. I don't know if
trusted third party.
Yeah,
right?
that. I mean, we definitely gained from that. You know, because we do have, I feel like, just the general public's best interest in mind. We're not beholden to anything else. This is just what I do for myself. I care about it. Yeah. So you can trust me.
I will tell you, I'm biased as hell on public lands. I mean, really am. Like, I mean, the whole reason, I was telling Randy this the other day, like that BHA meeting that I went to, right?
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, okay. I'm going to speak up right now, and then I'm going to kill this thing, this idea that people hate wilderness areas. If I just lean in right now and speak up right now, and then I can go back into the wilderness and not talk to people and be happy.
Okay.
And now it's like 14 years later, and I'm literally super frazzled at whatever time yesterday, texting Randy, and I'm like, dude, here I am again. I'm like, okay, if I just spend less time in the woods and more time in DC, and just lean in really hard right now and stop this crap right now, then I can go back
and enjoy the wilderness
and not talk to people and enjoy the wilderness, right?
Yeah, no, it's I don't know. I just want to really say how much I value you, Randy Newberg, just these people who are just so passionate, and then we're just putting out this trusted information. The post from you guys, I just knew that this is 100% real. And that's, man, you know, you'd see there was some politicians who I felt like they're definitely on our side. And that was, that Heinrich, he seems like, he had a post today that said, he mentioned bow hunters and bunny huggers that working together. And I'm like, how sick is that?
Yeah.
That was cool.
Absolutely.
I like just, when you talk about just a group of people, and that one of those groups is bow hunters, senators are mentioning bow hunters, it's badass.
Yeah, absolutely.
We fucking care about this shit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we care about it because we've gone out there and we
appreciate it
and bled on it, and we understand what it gives back.
Right.
And, you know, it's like, not every time that I go out there, I kill something.
No.
But every time I go out there, I'm like, God, I mean, we were out picking trash. I got to give these guys a plug because, I mean, dude, we're going to build a car and go do this.
I saw those the buggies you were in.
Oh, dude, the Gambler 500. Sons of Smokey is the nonprofit. Dude, I love these people so hard right now, which is my new line that I think is hilarious. But like, these are like bust your knuckles on a monkey wrench, fix anything.
Yeah.
Like crazy fixed up cars. The whole gambler idea is like you gamble on whether it will get you there and back.
Oh, I see.
That's where the gambler is.
Gotcha.
And it's got to be a car. It started as a car $500 or less. Like Craigslist and go. And this group of folks, like once you get to know them, you're like, oh, that super dust covered grimy dude is actually like an investment banker. This guy's a rancher.
Yeah.
This dude might be a total vagabond. This lady's a nurse, but they're all out there picking up trash.
Yeah.
And just living in the dirt, and they freaking love their public lands and the ability to just relax and have a good time. And they cleaned up hundreds of thousands of pounds of garbage off of public lands. I felt like a total bum because I was running around with my film crew trying to film it, you know, like I got to tell this story of another group of public land users who give a shit and they're responsible and it's responsible use and it's so valuable right now. And then I'd try to hustle around, pick up garbage, but pulling campers and all that stuff off of there. And you look at this big, dirty, motley crew of people, and ultimately 5,000 people showed up.
Wow.
Yeah.
And making a difference.
And I was like, you guys just stay weird. Stay weird. Don't let these politicians put you in a neat little box.
Exactly.
So they can be like, oh, I got their vote. I got their vote. I'm like, you got to stay the way you are.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I love that.
Oh, it was just like so positive, like during this time, and so refreshing, right?
Yeah,
like
when you're seeing so much negative out there and it feels like you're fighting against the world and they're trying to take our land. To see something like that probably just feels great.
Oh, man. Yeah. And they're physically doing the work.
Yeah.
Right. And they're like running groups taking off in the morning, and there was plenty of beer drinking going on in the evening, and everything in between. But they're physically doing the work. You can tell it's just like filling their cup. And then today they're all on the road heading back to whatever job and going back to normal, right?
Yeah.
But they're taking that with them, and it's freaking amazing. And man, that's a huge part of what we try to embrace on the BHA side of things. Like, we're trying to be like fiercely independent. And we want people who are going to make the freedom of choice and try to empower them to represent themselves. Like, you go to your commission meeting and stand up and represent. Like, here's the tools that you need. Our government affairs folks, Caden, really the dude, will get you booked at your senator's office. He'll help you have the confidence to go in there and say, hey, I'm Cam from Eugene. This is what I do, right? And you've done some of that, and it's scary as hell the first time you do it.
Yeah.
And you're like, what am I doing here? I'm not the right guy for this.
Right.
But, man, it makes a difference. And like I said before we started, you know, like every time I walk into somebody's office in D.C. and I'm like, oh, yeah. You know, I'm pretty fortunate. I get to go around and hunt and meet a bunch of people. And you know that spot in your state? And they're like, dude, I work for the state of, I'm from New Jersey or wherever.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They're like, God, how does that happen?
Yeah. You know, there's another thing I was thinking about too. That same person asked me if there was a way to make, you know, this address this affordable housing issue type thing. Another thing that I don't know if this plan talks about, but when you talk about these different land segments, and people say, well, it's underutilized or it's whatever, low value. One thing that I know the last time we were talking about migration routes where, you know, there might be nothing there specifically at most times of the year, but when that weather hits the mountains, those animals got to get out of the mountains. They got to migrate down to low country. If all of a sudden, maybe it was underutilized during, 10 months out of the year, but 2 months, those animals, that's how they get down. And animals they're not going to figure out some other way. They'll go and stand where they normally go and be like, guess we're just stopped at this highway now and they'll die.
It's just not convenient, is it?
Yeah.
It's like, why can't they figure it out?
No. And it's just like, that's just what animals do. But so even considerations like that with migration routes, and there's just different things to think about. I never heard one reference of the animals. If we sell these public lands, if we do this, what happens to the animals that inhabit that or then whatever. But,
that are coming off. I mean, in these mountain towns already, like those animals, when they hit their winter range, which would be the low country, summer range is the high country. I know you know that, but for folks listening, that's what we're talking about. That winter range, there's a lot of housing there already. And those animals, the elk and the deer, are in these mountain towns are coming down into neighborhoods as is in a lot of areas. And those are the areas that even in the fourth frickin' revision of Lee's bills, we're still in there. It's the stuff, the front country, right?
Right.
Like we were talking about, like what happens to your back country when the front country goes away?
Right.
All that's left is the back country.
Yeah.
And if you're griping about overcrowding right now,
it's going to get worse.
It's going to get worse unless you weigh in.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you don't weigh in, don't worry. Somebody else will for you,
Yeah.
It's like cripes.
Yeah.
No, that's a huge one. I mean, they're not making any more of it, right?
No.
Like that old saying, right? And
No.
we got to provide these big lumps of fat on our heads. Like we got a responsibility to provide for all this stuff.
Yeah. Definitely.
And selfishly, like,
Yeah.
kind of tweaked our whole lives around this.
Yeah.
And we know the type of value it's provided us. And I don't need people to do what we do, but I need people to know they have the option.
Yeah.
And just having that option is a pretty freaking amazing American freedom that you have.
Definitely.
Like, do you want to sell that down the road?
Yeah.
And at what price?
Yeah. That's the point. It's just like, just appreciating what we have. And if you want to take advantage of it or not, that's up to you. But for those that want to, we got to protect it and do our best here. So we talked about things that went well. What do you think? Did we make mistakes? What could we have done better?
Yeah, I mean, lack of early engagement would be the mistake, right? Like, again, early on, the party politics were so crazy strong because it was so close to the election, right? The Trump administration version 2 is moving at like lightning speed. They're cruising. They're trying to get stuff done. And early on, when we were talking about these land sales are coming, people were like, "Screw you! You hate the president." Right? I'm like,
Yeah.
I love public lands. They're for everybody. Screw you. Right.
Yeah.
And so that was rough, but here we are. That's in the past. I don't give a crap how you voted or what you called me early on. I just need you here now.
Yeah.
And stay here now. Please. I need you. So I hesitate to call it a mistake, but if folks want to look at the learning curve, let's get through that patch a lot faster the next time.
The combative part, like red versus blue.
Yeah, and then maybe we don't ever see it go to the House, and it darn sure doesn't pop up in the Senate, right? I think the big mistake is we had an opportunity to be proactive in like Ryan Zinke there in Montana. He Polson Pirate, I believe. We never had professional sports teams in Montana, so local high school athletics was like the thing. So Pirates were the mascot.
Is that where he went?
I think so. I think he was a Polson Pirate.
Okay. I didn't know what you were referring to.
It's like a mental twitch I have at this point in my life. So he came out with this Public Lands and Public Hands Act.
Okay.
And he worked and got some co-sponsors.
Just recently or when?
No, this was early.
Oh, okay.
This was early. And we're like, hey, tell your representatives. It was in the House. Tell your representatives. Co-sponsor the Public Lands and Public Hands Act. I think Simpson's out of Idaho is a co-sponsor of that. I did a post earlier. Rish and Crapo in Idaho. They've done some great stuff for public lands in the past. Those guys would be awesome champions, and Idaho's a badass public land state. And right now, that Public Lands and Public Hands Act there's language written for it for the Senate version. I think Gabe Vasquez, another New Mexico Democrat, who's a super good dude. He was also on it in the House version, I think. But they need a Republican co-sponsor in the Senate version. And, that's tighter restrictions. It would have prevented what Lee's doing right now.
But they never got it.
Okay.
Why would that be? Just nobody wants to put their neck out there or what?
Nobody wants to put their neck out there. They're looking at, there's again, like the speed of the administration, like pushing to get all these other things done. That would, like a couple of months ago, that would have fallen on like the hippy dippy side of things. Like, well, that's not an immediate need.
Yeah.
Well, right now, had we been like, oh my God, this is a demand from the American public. Look at this public outpouring of support. But the idea of land sales a couple of weeks ago or months ago was like, oh, those conservation groups are being hyperbolic.
Right.
Or I think they've got liberal influence or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But now it's like, oh my gosh, there's all sorts of people reaching out and being like, how can we be proactive? And as far as I can see, not being an expert, that's the only thing out there that could be a good next step right now is
getting somebody in the Senate that would okay, take that on.
Yeah, a Republican co-sponsor to the Public Lands and Public Hands Act, because there's a Democrat out there.
Yeah.
And maybe I would love it if Tim Sheehy in Montana would do it. Rish and Crapo would be great folks out of Idaho too. Something like that would at least be like hey, America, we heard you.
Yeah. It seems weird that somebody wouldn't step up. I wonder if it's optics or...
Well, it just seems like such an opportunity, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know why wouldn't they do that? That's what's weird.
Oh, I don't know. I do not know. I mean, John Thune, I think he ran for president for a primary or something, I think. I mean, hell of an opportunity for that guy.
Yeah.
Something like that. So that lack of, I was trying to find a good analogy, right? It's like hunters and anglers, like we just don't get fired up until it's the place that we go.
Right.
Right. And it's like the forest fire is on the front door right now. Like you can fry an egg on the back of the door. It's that hot.
Yeah.
And people were like, okay, I better start calling my senator,
Yeah. Yeah. I just don't, we're not generally the activism type, I guess. It's like, we're not the marching in the streets type people because got jobs, got shit to do, so it's, I understand why sometimes we're a little slow on stuff. Cause it's like, why waste a bunch of energy on something are they just trying to fan the flame? Are they trying to whatever? And so, yeah, I don't get worked up about hardly anything until it's like, okay, I guess this is serious.
Yep.
So maybe it's just that, but yeah, this definitely got everybody's attention this time.
Yeah. And it's not that I don't understand. I mean, I've lost a lot of relationships and some possible like way higher monetary career paths and things because I love being outside.
Yeah.
Right. And this is just the stuff that I care about. So I get that I'm a little bit weird and and I pay a little bit more attention.
Yeah.
And our last big BHA rendezvous, I had a buddy of mine call and be like, hey, are you going to BHA rendezvous this weekend? I'm like, yeah. He's like, I thought so. Can I borrow your boat? I'm going fishing, I'm like, yeah, you can. You can.
He tricked you.
I'm like,
didn't ask for the boat first.
Right. I'm like,
knew you're going to be busy.
There's some good stuff happening and, it's serious right now. And I get it. I totally get it. I've missed countless weddings and birthdays and family gatherings because I just wanted to be outside. Right. So I totally get it. But hopefully we've gained enough trust here that this next little round or just this Public Lands and Public Hands Act, if you want to follow up and say, hey, thank you so much for advocating for public lands. Here's the next step. We don't want to do this again.
Yeah.
Co-sponsor this bill if you're a senator. Sign on as a sponsor if you're in the House. Public Lands and Public Hands Act is an easy one to remember. So
yeah.
Yeah,
I think I was just trying to think why people hesitate. Also, there's because it's so toxic when you start talking politics. You put up anything politically related, then you got a bunch of negativity on your page.
Yeah.
That's another reason why. Do I want to, you put up a cool picture of an elk or something, it's all positive.
Right.
It's all good, baby. You start talking politics, then you're like, oh my God, I got to deal with people just saying crazy shit.
Yeah.
And so I think that is a reason why maybe some people didn't post. And then probably just not
being confident.
Not being familiar with what was going on.
Yep.
I think. Because I know Joe, it took him a little while, but once he's so busy. I think once he kind of looked into it and figured out so what the fuck's going on here? Then he was all about it.
Oh yeah.
There's that time where you got to get up to speed on what's going on and what side am I, what's a good side, bad side? What do I got to do? So yeah,
and just like anything else, man, there is so much noise.
Yeah.
So much noise. And I think that's a huge negative in this day and age is it's so easy to just write people off and they want to find the first mistake. And they're like, okay, first chink in the armor.
Yeah.
Out of there. Now I don't have to think about it.
Right. I can ignore this now.
And some of this is just hard work.
Yeah,
it is. And that affordable housing side of things, the right solution's hard.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, what Lee threw out there is so easy to say, oh, here, this will fix it.
Yeah.
And people are like, yeah, a lot of acres. Okay.
Yeah.
That'll fix it. But I mean, that is they're not even thinking about this.
No, it was a lazy solution. It's
lazy.
Let's actually do some problem solving. But yeah. I was trying to think about the positives. What I do like now though, is that, we did go through the exercise and we were successful and we've learned from it. And we have these trusted sources, like I said. We had people and I think I mentioned this in a post. I said, what I remember are the people who stood up, who made a stand, who never wavered. And then there's some certain people who didn't really hear from. And I think that's telling also. So I learned a lot about those two groups, the guys who were like, okay, I'm going to stand for what I believe in. And then the people who are just on the sidelines and I don't know.
Yeah.
Learn from both those groups.
Oh, big time. And listen, it's the way it is like you need that bandwagon moment of like people piling on. And even on this fight, right? Like the very end, all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's all of a sudden they're interested in public lands. And it's like, are they interested in public lands because they love them and they're passionate about them? Or are they so freaking scared that they're going to be on the wrong side of this issue?
Right.
In that bandwagon moment, it doesn't matter because that's what you need to win. And I said, I love you.
Volume.
Thank you so much.
We need volume.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
And for the folks that didn't weigh in this time, you're well rested.
Yeah. For the next time.
For the next time. And we need you.
What, I mean, are you ever tempted to wade into the DC world to try to make a difference, to be the person that, you know, you talked about putting your own personal, like wanting to be in the wilderness aside, just to make an impact right now? Have you thought, because you're good at it, you care. I mean, have you thought about that?
I care a lot. I think DC is just like so incredibly unhealthy.
Yeah.
Like every time I go there, I'm traveling so much and I need to like hang out with you and get like doesn't matter, get up and go on a run because I like compartmentalize and you know, a couple more days of travel, then I'm going to have a week at home.
Right.
And then I can do my normal thing instead of like, you know, now it's a shoot week and I'm missing this and I'm eating.
Yeah.
You know, I ate a burrito laying in bed at midnight last night. It was the only food I had all day. And I'm just like a bowl of jelly on top of my bed at midnight eating a burrito.
It's tough on the road for sure.
Yeah.
I get that.
So the unhealthiness of DC mentally really scares me. I will tell you that when we do these hill visits and lobbying days and, you know, I'm really try to maximize my time back there because I don't want to spend any more time than I absolutely have to. There's quite a few visits that feel the exact same as when you call or email and you're like, God, oh man,
did I have to be back here for this?
Did that connect with anybody?
Yeah.
And then you have some good ones and you're like, and I've had the last time I was up there, I had some good ones where I was like, okay, we had a two-way street I was listened to. That was great. And then I had some good ones where I was like, that dude and I are going to be friends. We're going to drink a beer together, but there's no way he's on the same side as I am, you know?
Yeah.
But that's kind of valuable too, because so much of what we're seeing in the world, in the US, in politics, in the hunting community, in whatever community is like, that willingness to be like, oh, wrong side, out of sight, out of mind. Whereas like, man, we're a mixing pot. It's just another person on the other side of the line, you know? Yeah. But if you're thinking I should be in politics, man, we got a lot of politics to change. I think we're in a big symptom of like, we've made that whole system so crazy that a lot of good folks are staying away from it because you're like, it's a circus, man. Oh
yeah. And unhealthy. I mean, if you're a normal human, that's, as we talked about, it's unhealthy back there. I mean, I don't know. I have respect for people who can do it, keep their sanity, never waver on, you know, what they care about, what they believe in. I wish we had more of them. It just seems like it's really hard. That's why I'm like recruiting you and thinking, yeah, you'd be perfect for that.
Well, there should be like a mirror on this side of the table there, buddy. You can do it. You can do it.
God, I went back just recently and I'm like, I don't know how people do this. It was, I just don't know who can you trust back there? That's the hardest thing, because it's like, even like with this administration, you know, how it works. Well, you got some of these Congress people who are in their position for decades, then you got a presidential administration that comes in. And so the people, I think it feels like people want to pretend like, yeah, we're going to help you, want to work on your side. But in the background, they're just like, fuck this guy. I'm not doing this. We just got to, what do we got? 3 more years and he's out of here. And so you figuring out who's actually on your side, who's not, whether they're, you know, I mean, trying to screw you over behind the scenes.
Yep.
That would be exhausting.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That
I don't know. I wouldn't, doesn't sound that enticing to me, but
no.
for you, it'd be great.
Get one more person out of the elk woods. Yeah, I get it.
Perfect.
I get it. Yeah, you're a natural politician. Yeah, no more mule deer, no more elk for that guy.
Man,
yeah.
I don't know. I'm really like, you know, what I saw you kind of mentioned it a little bit, but people saying that a lot of comments, you know, you and I don't agree on much, or, you know, don't have much common, I don't know, political things in common, but with this, I can really, you know, get on board and we're on the same page. That was kind of cool. I had a lot of comments like that. A lot of people from the backpacking community would never hunt in their life, but we felt the same on this, and both are fighting for the same thing. That was pretty cool. I love seeing that.
What's cooler than that?
Yeah.
And again, man, there is a lot of stuff we can lose by staying divided, right? And we used to talk about, you know, trailhead diplomacy. Like, if you screw up and you're having a bad day and you flip that horseback rider off as you're pedaling your mountain bike on the single track, that horse rider doesn't think you're a jerk. They think all mountain bikers are a jerk. Right. So think about your actions.
Yeah.
And think about the fact that horseback rider is out there for the exact same reason you are. Like, they just want some space and they want to be outside in nature.
Yeah. I was telling these guys, I have a friend, she's like the best ultra runner in the world, Courtney DeWalter, but we're going to do like an overnight trip to we've done like 6 14ers back in Colorado together, but she's a runner, trail runner. Usually that's pretty, you know, much different than the hunting crowd, right? But we both love the mountains. So she loves to run in the mountains. I do too, but I also love to hunt the mountains. But we come from it from still loving the mountains, just for different reasons.
Oh yeah.
You know, and that's what, I mean, there are common themes to all this stuff. We're humans. We have this fabric interwoven. We can't appreciate each other and have this shared interest or shared love or shared passion for, you know, the backcountry or the mountains. And that's what I love. I love people like, you know, ultra runners who might be more like granola type, that, we both care about the same thing and protecting it. I love that part of it.
And you're never going to find that out if you don't have the conversation.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, I mean, I'm pumped you came on. I'm pumped we were able to, you know what I'm pumped about? That this is a positive moment instead of us bitching about, I can't believe Mike Lee is selling public land. Thank God that didn't happen. So
thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God.
I'm excited that this was like, hey, we won. Let's.
But you were having that conversation in your head, right? Oh, I was like,
I was so nervous, dude.
What is that? Like,
I was so nervous.
If we're this underrepresented,
yeah,
with this much, and I went so far as, did you know that I was like, okay, what if we send out a press release that we're going to use the Freedom of Information Act to see how many people called in to each office, each senator's office, for public lands and against public lands.
Oh, yeah.
And
I'd love that number.
Oh, I would love that number. I would love that number.
Yeah.
And you can't use the Freedom of Information Act. That's private information. They're exempt, is what I found out.
It's got to be 90-10, right?
Oh my God! I would think.
Even,
you got little old ladies who look out their window,
yeah,
and are like
the songbirds.
Why would you sell that?
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
I mean, to the super gnarly guys that aren't all that friendly and they're only after the big bucks or whatever.
It might be 95 to 5.
I would sure think so, man. Oh.
But if we could have that and then present it to our representatives and say, this should never come back up. Here's what the people want.
Yeah. These are the people that are in your district.
Yeah.
They're voting for you.
I know. God, that would be so valuable.
Yeah. Accountability, I think they call that. Yeah.
Well.
But yeah, I'm so happy to be here and I am so happy. I literally, my anxiety was at like an all-time high. I left BHA Rendezvous literally from talking to everybody, saying thanks and stay in the fight. And I went to the Missoula airport, got on a 7:30 red-eye flight, landed in Fairbanks, and I was in the Brooks Range at 3:00 in the afternoon. And the literal last thing I saw as I'm frantically trying to get the news, I'm in the air in a caravan.
You shouldn't have your phone on the plane, remember?
And frickin' Cameron Haynes is like, you guys, they're selling our public lands. Yeah. And I could have cried. Oh. I'm like, thank God. Yeah. Thank God. Okay. Come on. Out of service. And when I got back into service, I called you and man, just thank you. Thank you.
Oh, no, I'm so appreciative of you. It's like, I love that I don't know. I haven't really known you, before this.
Not really.
So this is, I'm just, if nothing else, I'm thankful for your friendship now.
Oh, you got it, buddy.
I need more people like you in my life, just good people that you can count on and tell it like it is. But so, yeah, I'm appreciative. Thank you for coming. Thank you for doing the podcast. Thank you for all the work you're doing for public land hunters and being so well-spoken. It's, I don't know. I feel really honored to have you on the podcast and get to talk about this with you.
Well, dude, man, we're kindred spirits. Just like I was telling you on the first Lite starting days. Yeah. It's like we didn't know any better, so we just told the truth. Yeah. Right? And it's like we love public lands, right? It's like you got a big megaphone. Yeah. I mean, you always did, but now it's a lot bigger. Yeah. And you're still out there just being who you are. That's damn respectable.
Mohawk Indian. So if you need the high school reference for me down the road, Mohawk Indian.
And that's Eugene?
No, that was like 20 miles outside of town here. I lived in a little tiny town, single A school. That's where I grew up. So, but we were the Mohawk Indians.
Heck yeah. I love it. That was a Hellgate night.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah. Well, now I know. So we got our high school. What are those? What are those called?
Mascots. Yeah.
But they actually, because we can't offend Native Americans, they're the Mohawk Mustangs now.
No way.
How dumb's that? Mohawk Indians were badass, dude.
Oh, for sure.
Mean, you should the painting we had in the middle of the gym, such a cool, badass Indian.
Yeah, but they were Iroquois. So how'd they get out here? When I was leaving Bozeman the other day, though,
don't trick me.
Our tribal schools, they're Indians.
Okay.
Yeah, Browning Indians. They were pulling up. The school bus was pulling up the other day. Yeah.
Okay. Well, so you still have them back there, like the mascots.
Oh yeah, Well, but they're on the Crow. Shoot. I'm sorry. Who was it? No, yeah, Browning. Yep. So they're Glacier National Park, east side, the Blackfeet.
That's a tribe?
Yep. No, the Blackfeet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well.
Yeah.
I don't know where the Mohawk Indians came from. That was just our school name. So
that's awesome.
I don't know.
I thank you for sharing that with me.
Now you know. Well, I say let's go get dinner. How about that?
Oh yeah.
Well, but you had a burrito last night, I guess. So maybe you're not hungry.
Yeah, I got to wait till midnight. Eat it on my belly.
All right. Well, old Cal, thank you very much. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you, buddy. That was great.
Someone to blame, they sent their hate, it fuels my pace. I am Roy Tough, I am the change, the fuel